Picture this. You are in the car, or maybe you are standing in your kitchen. You already saw the message on his phone. You already remember exactly what he said to you last week, word for word. But right now he is looking you straight in the eyes, completely calm, and he tells you that you are imagining things. He says he never said that. He says you are being dramatic again. And in that exact second, your stomach drops. You do not feel angry. You feel scared, because for a moment you actually wonder if you are losing your mind. So you do the thing you always do. You apologize. You say sorry for even bringing it up. If this sounds familiar, you are not crazy. What you just lived through has a name, and it is one of the most dangerous manipulation tactics that exists. Stay with me, because I am going to explain exactly what happens inside your brain when this happens, and what you can actually do about it. The name for it is gaslighting. Gaslighting is a pattern of psychological manipulation where one person slowly convinces another person to doubt their own memory, their own perception, and eventually their own sanity. The goal is simple. The manipulator wants you to stop trusting yourself, so you start depending completely on his version of reality. This is not some new internet trend. The term comes from an old movie where a husband secretly dims the gas lights in the house and then insists to his wife that nothing changed when she notices it. But the reason the word exploded back into everyday conversation is because so many women suddenly had language for something they had been living with for years. In 2022, lookups for the word gaslighting on Merriam-Webster jumped over 1,700% in a single year, and it was named the word of the year. That is millions of people searching for one word because they finally needed to understand what was happening to them. And the numbers are not small. Research from the National Domestic Violence Hotline found that about 74% of women who experienced domestic violence also experienced gaslighting from their partner. So if you have felt this, you are part of a pattern researchers have been documenting for years. This is not a personal failure on your part. Here is the part most people never explain to you. Why does this actually work? Why can a grown woman with a perfectly healthy memory start doubting basic facts just because someone denies them with enough confidence? A sociologist named Paige Sweet, who studies gaslighting at the university level, explains that it only works because of an imbalance of power and trust inside a relationship. When you love someone, your brain is wired to give him the benefit of the doubt. That wiring exists for a good reason. Trust is what holds relationships together. But an abuser uses that exact wiring against you. Every time you bring up something real and he denies it with total confidence, your brain runs into a conflict. It either has to accept that the person you love is lying to your face, or it has to accept that your own memory is wrong. Most women, especially the ones raised to keep the peace, pick the second option first. It feels safer in the moment. Dr. Robin Stern, who has studied this for years at Yale, points out that a gaslighter is usually not trying to win an argument about facts. He is trying to win control over who gets to define reality in the relationship. Each time you back down even a little, that control gets a little stronger. And each time you back down, the part of your brain that is supposed to flag when something is wrong gets a little quieter. Over time, this becomes trained self-doubt. Your brain literally learns to distrust its own signals before it distrusts the person standing in front of you. So here is the first thing that actually fights this back. Start writing things down. Keep a private note on your phone, something with a password on it, where you put the date and exactly what was said and what actually happened. This is not about building a case against him. It is about giving yourself something real to come back to on the nights your own memory starts to feel shaky. Reading your own words in your own handwriting interrupts the exact pattern Stern and Sweet are describing because it puts your memory back in front of you in black and white, instead of letting it quietly fade. This trained self-doubt is also why the damage runs so much deeper than people realize, and it does not stay in your head. It moves into your body too. The first thing that shows up is hypervigilance. You start watching every word before it leaves your mouth, because you have learned that the wrong sentence can trigger a fight where you somehow end up being the one who is wrong. That is not you being naturally anxious. That is a nervous system trained to expect punishment for speaking honestly. This is also why so many women in this situation deal with trouble sleeping, a racing heart before a totally normal conversation, or headaches that show up for no clear reason. Your body stays on alert even when nothing is actually happening because it has learned that calm can disappear in one sentence. The second thing is that you lose trust in your own decisions. Something as small as picking an outfit or choosing where to eat suddenly needs a second opinion because the part of your brain that used to say, I know what I want, has been worn down. This is not indecision as a personality trait. It is the direct result of being told over and over that your read on things is wrong. Eventually, you stop trusting your own preferences before anyone even questions them because some part of you starts feeling like you need permission just to want something. The third thing is the automatic apology. You catch yourself saying sorry even in the moments where you are the one who got hurt, because apologizing has become your fastest way to end the conflict, even when you did nothing wrong. This habit usually starts as a survival skill. Saying sorry ends the fight faster than defending yourself does. But over time, it quietly teaches your brain that your own feelings are an inconvenience that needs to be managed before anyone else has to deal with them. The fourth thing is quiet isolation. You stop telling your friends the full story, not because they would not believe you, but because some part of you is embarrassed that you are still here, still accepting this. Sometimes this isolation is something he pushes for directly. Other times you do it to yourself, just to avoid the look on someone's face when you admit what you have been putting up with. People who study abusive relationships point to isolation as one of the clearest warning signs they look for, because it removes the one thing that could interrupt the whole pattern, which is an outside perspective. That isolation is actually the most dangerous one on the list. So here is the second thing that helps. Choose one person outside the relationship, someone you trust completely, and tell them the plain facts without softening anything. Do not summarize it in a way that protects him. Say exactly what was said and exactly how it made you feel. Ask them directly if it sounds normal to them. Gaslighting depends on you staying isolated. The moment someone outside the situation reflects reality back to you, the whole manipulation starts to lose its grip. If even one of these things sounded like you're weak, keep watching, because the next part will probably explain why. There is also a script a lot of gaslighters use without even realizing it, and once you hear it out loud, it gets a lot harder to fall for. He tells you that you are too sensitive, that everything is a big deal to you. That line is not about your emotions. It exists to make the problem your reaction instead of his behavior. He tells you he was only joking and asks why you cannot take a joke anymore. That line moves the blame from the cruelty of what he said to your supposed lack of humor. He tells you that you need therapy, that you sound paranoid. That line takes your mental health, something that should be a source of support, and turns it into a weapon against you. He tells you that if you really trusted him, you would not be acting like this. That line is built to flip the entire situation, so you end up feeling like the one who did something wrong. Notice that every one of these lines does the exact same job. None of them actually deal with what you brought up. They all just move the spotlight off his behavior and onto your character, your emotions, or your mental state. Once you can name that pattern in the moment, it gets a lot harder for it to work on you the way it used to. The next time you hear any version of these lines, here is the third thing that helps, and it matters the most in the actual moment. Stop trying to win the argument. A gaslighter does not want to find the truth. He wants you tired enough to give up and accept his version. So the goal is not to prove your point with more details. The goal is to end the exchange. Keep your voice calm, not because he deserves calm, but because staying calm keeps the control with you instead of handing it back to him. You can simply say that you remember it differently and that you are done discussing it, and then leave the room. You will not win this with logic, because logic was never the actual game. If you have sensed for a while now that something is wrong, it probably is. That instinct is not damage. It is the part of you that gaslighting has not managed to fully quiet yet. Save this if you needed to hear it today, and send it to a friend who might be living through the exact same thing without a name for it yet. And if explanations like this one help you understand yourself a little better, follow this channel, because we walk through patterns exactly like this one every single week.